My name's Joel Paulson, and the title of my TEDx talk is Our Healing Canvas, the journey to self-forgiveness through resilience and compassion. Self-forgiveness is always going to be a flowing thing. It's moving, it's never static. I think some people think self-forgiveness and think it's reaching a point where nothing bothers them about whatever it is that they're looking for self-forgiveness from, right? Like you get to the point where you say, okay, like, I'm over that, or this isn't bothering me anymore. And I don't really think that's true. I think you're always going to be, or it's going to be a daily struggle, whether it's grief, trauma, you know, embarrassment, nerves, anxiety, right? Like for me, it's a little bit more flowing. It's getting to a place where you know how to deal with the emotions when they arise, not necessarily that they never arise. Because I think that's not necessarily true. I think there will be moments, things, whatever that reminds you of that and will kind of suck you in. And knowing, maybe your triggers, or knowing, when they do arise, how to beat them back down again in a way that's healthy, and not, doing X because it feels good momentarily or whatever, or like self-medicating in a way that's harmful. I think that's like, for me, I think that's what self-forgiveness really means.
What do you think that people misunderstand the most about the idea of self-forgiveness?
I don't know if I would say misunderstand, because I think everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I think, it might look different for you and it might look different for me. I think, I choose to believe that it is a flowing thing. It is moving, because I think it makes more sense for me, because all the things that I deal with are generally not just static, like they're not just one-time events of things that happened in the past, but things that are currently ongoing. And I think you could even look at it that same way for a lot of Black and brown people. There's a lot of generational trauma that's still ongoing, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to look at it the same. So I think the misconception is that, like, you can get over something one time. Like, you're going to roll out of bed one day and be like, it doesn't bother me anymore, I'm over it. And I think that that's not necessarily a very healthy way of viewing things, because I think it's allowing us to kind of trick ourselves into believing that one day everything will just be better, and that you can work to get to that point, and then after that point you don't have to do that same work anymore, which I don't think is true. I think, it requires a lot of diligence. It requires a lot of, personal care and attention to get to that point where you could say, okay, it doesn't bother me anymore, but it will still bother me sometimes.
When people talk about forgiving themselves for things, or self-forgiveness, that they are talking about it in the sense of something that they did that they feel like is wrong. And I sort of feel like what you were talking about in your talk is a little bit broader than that, that maybe you feel guilty for something, or you feel shame about something, but you didn't necessarily do anything. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
I think it is very broad. I think it is very all encompassing. That there are things that go on in all of our lives that, we feel guilty for, or we feel shame about, or we feel upset about, but like are no fault of our own per se. There could be things that go on between extended family members, or things that go on between our siblings, or things that go on between our parents. There's a lot of different things that people feel moved about that happen all the time that aren't through our own doing. But also can't necessarily just be fixed by communication, because your feelings are valid. Not like it's miscommunication. Oh, like they're not arguing about me, or they're not mad at me, I just misunderstood. No, but like I genuinely feel this way because of what I'm seeing happening. And I know it's not because of anything I did, but I still feel this way, even though I know that I am not the cause of it, or I'm not perpetuating it, or I'm not, reenacting that harm, or the cause of that harm. I'm still upset about it, and I still don't want to see it happen.
That's really interesting. I think so. When people come to see your TED Talk on April 20th, when people come to see it, what do you want them to leave feeling like, or is there anything that you want them to do after they see it?
I think I want them to feel seen in a way, a little bit of a different way. I think, like, this is probably something that people don't really talk about very much, is their feelings about things that they can't control, because people might think it sounds crazy. Like, oh, I feel this way because of this going on. And it's like, well, why do you care? Or like, why does this matter to you? Or why are you so upset about it? Because it doesn't really impact you, or it's not really affecting you. And like, I want people to feel seen, that like, that's okay. It's okay to feel. I think in a lot of ways, there's a lot of different facets of society that make, or try to convince you that that's not an acceptable thing. Like, whether it be as a man, whether it be, men aren't supposed to talk about their emotions or their feelings, and so that's why it's weird, or if it's because as anybody else, like it's a tangential thing that's related to you, but you're not causing it. So why are you so upset? So I want people to come and feel seen, or at least feel more comfortable that like somebody or is engendering conversation about this in a way that maybe they can go home and talk about it too. I hope that you leave with something that goes, oh, okay, I really like that. Let me use that so I can look in the mirror in the morning and reorient the way I go about my day. And I hope it helps hearing me talk about my experiences. But even if not that, just the resources that I provide and the other places I provide, use as a springboard to say, okay, well, I'm going to look into that because I like what he said, but I didn't really like how he does it himself. And so I'll go pull from this or I'll go pull from that and make it my own, which I think would actually honestly be better because, well, it's my method and I think it might work for a lot of people. And like I use it in different areas of my life too, like not just dealing with self-forgiveness, but I also use it like when I coach or when I tutor. And so like it works for me and it works in different areas. It might not work for the person to my left or the person to my right in the same way. So being able to come and leave with ooh, let me go do more or learn more is something that I also really want people to come away with, I think, when they hear me speak.
People have a lot of choices, do a lot of things. TEDx is on a Saturday in the middle of the day. Why should people put their pants on and come down to see TEDx?
Me personally, I've had to use TED for class. I've watched TED because I've wanted to. We've all gone down the YouTube rabbit hole in the middle of the night when you can't sleep and you're like, oh, that TED talk looks interesting. I think just in general, it's kind of like, I'm not going to say it's the same as being on the Oprah Winfrey show or something like that, right? But like, you have the opportunity to be in the room when those things are made. That's really cool. We've all consumed that same kind of media, and being able to be in the room and saying, oh, I was there when this was made, or oh, I was there and got to see that in person, or just experienced it at least once in that same room, I think is an opportunity that you shouldn't pass up.